Hey guys, welcome back to the shack. Today it's officially getting to be winter and fall in this area, and with the cooler weather comes sawmilling. So I've got some blades that a buddy of mine dropped off. He wants sharpened, and so I'm going to be getting the tooth setter out and the sharpener out. Got everything set up. I'll be sharpening a few blades, and for those of y'all that have a sawmill, or maybe you're just thinking about getting into a sawmill, this is probably the most economical way that I can find to have a good, dependable, and effective way of sharpening your saw blade. So if that's something that interests you, stick around for a few minutes and we're going to get to sharpening some blades. All right, here's the setup. Woodland Mills tooth setter. And I've just kind of got it set up on some sawhorses here because it is temporary. I get it out, set it up as I need to, and then once I get all my blades sharpened, I put it back up and store it. Typically I keep this stuff up at the mill, but I like working down here better, so I just go bring it down if I ain't got any milling going on up there. So once you establish which tooth is what, you've got a center tooth, you've got a left facing, a right facing, center, left, right, center, left, right, center. So depending on which tooth you're trying to set, you have to move the machine from one side to the other. And the way that it sets it is this lever, as it moves over, it bends those teeth. So with the machine set to this side, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the tooth that faces this way. So I'm just going to take and slide it forward, and once I get this first tooth set up for the setter, now every time I pull the lever, the next tooth, until I pass back to the weld, the next tooth that goes in there will be the correct tooth. And it's basically simple. Now this does build hand strength, so it's not necessarily for the faint of heart. But you just squeeze, move it, squeeze, move it, and repeat. And once you've done this a little bit, it actually gets relatively simple. So now, if you want to be really precise, you can go slower, you can make 2 passes, you can do all that, but from my experience on my own blades and from doing other people's, this is very effective. I do the set prior to sharpening, and that way the tooth is in its proper alignment before I hit it with the rock, because I tried it both ways and I seem to get a sharper, better cutting blade doing it this way. And as you're doing this, you kind of got to watch for that yellow mark where the weld is on the blade, and when it comes around, you're going to want to stop and flip it around and go to the other side. And here comes the end of the blade. This is a blade for a LX25. That is the last tooth right there, which just so happens to actually be going that way. So take this off. Got to flip it around to this side. Get everything lined back up. And then it just simply folds over and down to the blade. And now when you squeeze, you're pushing the teeth that way. And so you're going to do the other half of the teeth. The middle teeth, typically, I mean, those can get bent and you have to straighten them. But typically the middle teeth should all be straight unless you've really hit something hard with them. And I've got my little sponge right there, and what that sponge is it kind of wipes a thin layer of WD-40 on this blade as it goes around. That helps me when I go over to the sharpener. Make sure that everything slides well. And it also helps keep the blades from rusting. All right, looking for my weld. It should be right here on me somewhere. So I'm taking my time, making sure I'm not passing the weld, because I will be cutting the other side of the teeth if I do. That's the last tooth on this side of the wheel. So that blade is set. Now off to the sharpener. All right, guys, I'm over here at the BMS25 now. This is a Woodmizer sharpener that I decided to go with. It operates off 12 volts, but I have a little power supply that I can use to run it. Once you get everything set up, it's relatively easy, but there is a secret to getting this thing set up. I've currently got it set up for 10-degree blades because that's what my buddy runs, and I've got the 10-degree cam on it as well as my 10-degree rock. And you want to set it to where, as it turns, it just barely misses that the back of that tooth right there on the cutting edge, and then you want it to drag the others ever so slightly. So I'm going to adjust the depth on it right quick, and then we'll get it started. It's got a little twist knob over here on the shaft that you use to adjust the depth that it goes in. And primarily I try on the first round to just kind of let it just barely contact the blade. I don't want it grinding real hard. It'll create burrs and makes it a little harder to sharpen blades. I want it to just nick it on the first round and make sure it's good and smooth. And then the second round, I'll come around, I'll drop it down a little bit. But I'm gonna just jog it forward. I'm in front of the very first tooth on the blade now, and I'm gonna engage the wheel. Let that thing get spun up, get to running, and then all you've got to do is flip the rotation switch here, and it'll start rotating it around and start sharpening the blade. All right, it's not quite coming down as low as I want it to, so I'm going to kind of work with it as it goes around. You do have to be careful when you're getting this thing set up, because if it hits too far left of the peak of that tooth, it will actually go this way and push the blade back. That took me a little while to get used to. So I'm going to let this run around and finish the first lap, and then we'll be flipping the adjustment down just a little, and I'll run the second lap, and then we should be done with this blade. All right, guys, it made the first lap, and I've dropped the dig depth down just a little bit, and I'm trying to take a little more material out from the valleys here to try to prevent any kind of cracking or anything like that might be spreading, and getting the rake on these teeth exactly the way it needs to be. So this little guy, like I said, it's an economical way of sharpening your blades. I'm sure that some of the bigger machines that cost a lot more money maybe do a better job. This one requires a lot more user input and takes a little longer, but I've had good results with it so far, and it works for me. All right, guys, I decided this blade has obviously, from looking at some of the teeth, it was a nail strike. So I'm gonna go ahead and let it run one more lap, but I'm only letting it cut the back side of these just a little bit, just to kind of fix the tips on those guys. So it's barely taking any material off. It's not cutting any on the down. On the down, it's cutting on the back side of this tooth here on the slope. So I'm just gonna let that run one more time around to just make sure I got nice clean tips, and I'll be done with this one. All right, I got that one to the point that I'm satisfied with it. I didn't take it down as low as I could, but I try not to take any more material off than I have to. That way you can get 4 to 5 sharpenings out of these things before you have to throw them away. So I'm going to release the blade, and the way that you do that, I had to add myself a little magnet up here on the top of this thing because I kept losing that wing nut. But you just have to take the little adjustment here loose, fold that guy back. Then you need to slide that forward just a little bit to get this arm loose and lift the blade up and come out with it. And you're ready to go back on with another one. And I'll try to show you if I can. I should probably have some gloves on, but there's the teeth, and I got a good uniform tooth. They're very very sharp. I got nice defined clean edges on here. No little hooks, no burrs or anything like that. And that's what I try to do. And like I said, I've been sharpening my own blades for about a year now, as well as other people's, and this works. So that's the process right there, guys. All right, guys, whether you're already have a sawmill or whether you're contemplating getting one, or if you're just looking for a way to sharpen your blades, like I said, I did a little bit of research before I bought my setup, and I've had it for about a year now, and I've sharpened probably 40 or 50 of my own blades, and I think I'm probably at about 40 for other people. And so far this setup, I mean, it works for me. It's affordable. Between the setter and the sharpener, I think I got around $1,400 in the whole setup. Considering that typically other folks would charge me $8 in our area, it's about $8 to sharpen a blade and set it. I think I'm making my money back. Now, I don't expect to make my money back in the first year, but like I said, $8 a blade, I probably sharpen 40 for myself. So, 2 or 3 more good years with this machine and the setup, it will have paid for itself. And that's why I do sharpeners for other people, as far as my friends and guys that locally here have wood sawmills. And to kind of help offset the cost of the machine, I don't charge that much. It's pretty labor intensive setting them and then sharpening them. But if I do enough of those, that'll help take some of the cost burden off of me for replacing stones and stuff like that as they wear. But if you're interested, guys, like I said, I'll put the model number and everything down below, and you can look that up and see if that's something you're interested in for your mill setup. But thanks for stopping by. If you're here for the sawmill videos, guys, I've got some other ones that I've made with my LX25. Just check out my sawmill playlist, and maybe there's something there that might help you or kind of give you some ideas of what you can do with your mill. But until next time, guys, as always, stay safe and have a good day.